Everyone, and welcome to the Young Readers Book Review for Kids. My name is Naya, and today I am going to be sharing with you the book, The Unteachables by Korman. Now, when I first started reading this book, it was a little confusing, and you may feel the same way if you read it, but every chapter is basically like someone else's perspective. This book doesn't follow one person's perspective, and it's all in the first person, so it's kind of weird jumping around to different people who all go by, I did this, I did that. So the first chapter is about this girl named Kiana, and the second one's about their teacher or something, and then the third one's about another kid, and then it goes back to their teacher, and then another person, and it follows different perspectives throughout the book, so you get different perspectives of different people, all going by I. So it was a little confusing, but each chapter's heading tells you who is narrating that chapter, which was a little more helpful, but it was confusing when you're like, who's Kiana? Who's Mr. Kermit? Who's Parker Elias? Like, it's a little confusing at first, and then you get to know the characters and it's a little easier, but I'm not a big fan of the books where during the whole series it changes perspective so many times. Like, maybe 2 or 3 times it can change perspective and still be good, but if you're changing it 10 different times with 10 different characters all narrating in the I perspective, it can be a little confusing. This book takes place in the public school, so most of it takes place in a classroom. And these kids are in the Unteachables classroom. So they're the kids that flunk class, who don't do anything and have problems, basically. And one of the kids has anger management problems. The other can't read. One of them doesn't belong in that classroom because she got put in on accident, but stays there anyway because she doesn't care. So it's all about these kids and what their problems are and how they learn to basically fix their problems. And I really liked it once I got to the end of it. I feel like it was a good, more or less like a redemption story. It wasn't a Christian book. There was one mention of taking the Lord's name in vain, which I marked out in my book because I was like, I don't want to read that again if I ever read it. So I marked it out. But it ended happily, and I like books that end happily. It didn't need a sequel. It didn't need anything else. It was just a standalone book, and it ended great. So I did like it, but it was a little, the wording was a little dumbed down, and it wasn't a good literature book. So most of the books I try to read books that are good literature, books that don't use like slang all the time and dumb words down, dumb the story down. I don't care for those types of books as much, but this was the only book I had on hand. And I know that sounds bad, but I did like it. I really did. It was a good book, but I probably wouldn't have picked it out for its literature. It wasn't the best literature. It was a book to lose your mind in, and it was a fun read. It was a candy book, basically. So I like to balance those out with some tougher reads. Like during school, I'll read a hard literature book, and so then when I get tired of that, I'll get a book that I can lose myself in and not have to use my mind so much to try and figure out what's going on. I just recently read a book called Silas Marner, and that one was a tougher read. So you have to kind of use your mind to try to figure out what they're saying, because it is an old literature book, and so the way they talk, the way things are worded, sometimes you have to think through what's going on to try and figure out what's happening. But I don't know if you've read any literature books like that, but anyway, this was a good book. Besides the one instance of taking the Lord's name in vain, there were no other curse words. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone younger than 12, just because of some of the bad influences in this book. Kiana, one of the main characters, calls her stepmother Stepmonster, and obviously it's just as like a silly thing in the book, but you shouldn't call anyone that. Just as the kids are wild and unruly, and there's no one trying to teach them or parent them or anything. They're just like left to themselves in their classroom, and their teacher barely teaches them, and then they're all like then slowly this other teacher comes in and is like redirecting all the kids and helping the teacher get them to do what they're supposed to be doing, because their teacher is the most burned out teacher in the whole school. So he's been put in charge of the Unteachables that year, and I'm not making it sound as good as this book is. I'm probably confusing you, but basically I just wouldn't recommend it for anyone younger than 12, just because there are a few things where like the kids just they do bad things, you know, and then they learn. And there's no good parents in the book series telling the kids you shouldn't be doing this, and they're hiding all the stuff they're doing. And but in the end, everything comes to light, and the book series ends on a redemption. Like all the kids aren't unteachables anymore, and everyone's found out that every kid just has a little problem, and it just takes a bit of effort to fix it. So that was one good thing I liked about that book. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video and it was helpful. Please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!